Come on in, come to the place where fun never ends. Come on in, go see a film with Garfield and friends. Bum bum, Garfield and friends. I wish you were that. Garfield. So I actually saw this on Tuesday because normally I go out and play cards with my dad on Tuesday, but I had such a bad night at cards. I got up so early, and my girlfriend wasn't going to be back to work from work for another hour and a half. I'm like, it's matinee Tuesday. There's a showing of Garfield in 15 minutes. F it. So I went to see Garfield early. It was generally my plan to see it anyway. What can I say about this film? Let me be just blunt, clear right now. Garfield is probably the most heinous, vile, steaming pilot. It's fine. It's fine. It's sorry. I knew I had to do that. It's you know what? It's pleasantly benign. That's, I think, the best way to put it. It's not bad. It's not great. It's not the most wonderful thing in the world. It's not even terrible or even like uncomfortable to sit through. It's just a thing. Now, that being said, there's critiques I have of the movie. And one of the big things I think stands out is, I think, the biggest issue with the film. This does not feel like Garfield. This feels like some other animated movie that Garfield just happens to be the main character in. But this doesn't, this doesn't feel like Garfield for about 95% of the movie. Honest, no joke. When we're dealing with Garfield in his home, which is only about 5%, 5 minutes of the movie, usually, those are the only times it actually feels like Garfield. And I think the problem comes from the Garfield character itself. Because when you look at all the other Garfield material that's come previously, the 2 Bill Murray movies and the animated stuff, I think Garfield is honestly just a extremely difficult character to turn into a movie. Because the comic, hold on. I got Garfield comics right here. Literally right here. So, oh man, this takes me back. So I mean, okay, let's look at some Garfield comics real quick here, if you can read these. Can you read those? Okay, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be great. But yeah, it's him staring at a mouse and a joke and all that. John targeting the Garfield and him making Woody come back. Again, him and Normal, I believe it was, right? No, him and Pookie. So the point is, the Garfield's comics are not high adventure, fight the bad guy kind of comics. They're just cute little strips that you read in the Sunday paper and then they get turned into books. The show was nothing more than him and his just mild-mannered adventures at home. And then you cut to the barnyard animals. I can't remember what that one was about, but I remember those guys, just not their names. So the problem then is, how do you turn, even when you do go into Garfield's most extreme adventures, him trick-or-treating with Odie and running into some horror stuff, that felt still like something Garfield would do. But there was no bad guy. It was just the scary stuff that him and Odie were running into. When he goes to the farm for Christmas, it's just a Garfield Christmas. There's no villain. So, you trying to make something epic for Garfield with him finding his lost father, this evil cat who wants revenge, him and Odie going on a hijinks adventure, which involves a heist at one point. It's not that it's not entertaining, at least on some level. There's a level of enjoyment there, certainly. It's just not Garfield. So I think that's really your biggest problem with this film. It really comes down to the fact that this isn't Garfield. It's got Garfield in it. It's got Odie. There's John. But when you break it down, it's not a Garfield story. With all that said, though, it's not a bad movie. It's like I said, it's harmlessly benign. It's entertainingly benign. I got some enjoyment out of this. First and foremost, those scenes where you see little Garfield, look, it's emotional manipulation up the yin-yang, but damn it if they did not make little Garfield adorable. And the scenes that actually involve his father, really worked when involving little Garfield, because the idea, you see it in the trailer, that, Garfield was abandoned as a kitten, and he found John, everything works great. Well, we learn what actually happened in that scenario, and in the back of my mind, I'm going, what if this is what actually happened? That's why his dad didn't come back. And sure enough, I'm like, well, crap, that's what actually happened. So, yeah, I laughed at that a bit. I did laugh. Look, let's get out of the way right now. Chris Pratt is not the person I think we would have initially chosen for Garfield, for us fans of Garfield, but he's also not the person we chose for Mario. And Mario went on to make over $1.3 billion. So it tells us as fans, we don't know what the F we're talking about, okay? I'm also not on the Chris Pratt hate train like a lot of the other people are. I know he's apparently had some like religious views in recent years. I really don't give that a crap about anyone's. As long as your religion is not you saying, hey, do this or you're going to hell, and I'm going to tell you how to live your life, then I don't give a crap. And even then, like, do you do good things otherwise? And religion is one of those things you can grow out of. You can come to realize something else about yourself. So all I'm saying is maybe take a step back, because we're such on a cancel culture now. We're such a cancel culture, and it pisses me off. I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, okay? I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. There was no cancel culture. Everyone just learned to just grow a tough hide and be like, take a joke off the... And when someone crossed the line, you don't cancel them. You punch them in the face and be like, you're not going to do that again, are you, dick? Like, that's who we used to be. People who had balls, and people who had both the men and the women. The women sometimes had bigger ones. So I have this hate boner for Chris Pratt like a lot of people do. I will admit, he shows up sometimes like, oh, Chris Pratt, and like, he already voiced Mario. Why does he have to voice Garfield? But okay, I'll see how it works. And it took me a minute. Like, okay, so that's what he sounds like. I mean, I heard him in the trailer, but I'm like listening in the movie. This is what he sounds like. Okay, and I'm watching the movie, and eventually I rolled with it, and I'm like, it's still, even throughout the movie, I'm like, this voice works okay. It's just not what I would have thought for Garfield, but they do actually establish Garfield's only 5 years old in this version. They do at one point say how old. He said 5 years ago. He left me 5 years ago. So we do actually know how old Garfield is here. So hypothetically, if we want to do like a 10-year-old Garfield instead, maybe you get a different voice, like an older cat voice, or 15 or 20, because Garfield is actually very old in the comics for a cat. So yeah, I remember, what was it, Lorenzo or Music, something like that. They were the guy who did Garfield's voice initially in the cartoons. I remember his voice, like, candy, candy, candy. It was very low, very husky, but there was an air of cynicism about it too. This Garfield clearly isn't quite there yet, but you could see the cynicism at points. I like what they did with Odie. Odie's actually the smarter of the two of them. It's just, he's a dog, so he can't apparently talk. Except other dogs we meet can talk, so it's a little weird why Odie can't actually talk. But it's funny seeing some of the jokes they do with Odie. It's pretty funny. The action sequences are pretty nice. There is a fun little heist film, heist moment or heist scene with Garfield and his dad. I like Sam Black's character, by the way, of Vic, his father. I do like it. These characters look like they're related to each other. And I do like I can't remember the villain cat's name, but she's a lot of fun too. And her henchmen are a lot of fun because they have these very interesting voices to them, despite the way they look. So that the characters are all fine. There are some good jokes. There is a joke involving a possum that's pretty funny, but it would go over some kids' heads. There's definitely a couple moments where I am getting a good chuckle, and even once or two a good laugh. Mostly I'm just kind of watching I'm not bored. It's entertaining enough. This is not something I'd go see again, but it's an entertaining. Unless I had kids and they're like, Garfield, yay! I was like, you sure you don't want to go see Furiosa, kids? Want to see a guy get decapitated? I was like, okay, all right. Godzilla and Kong. Then see, if I had kids, probably would have been doing Godzilla and Kong, to be honest. Well, it depends on how old my kids are. If they're over, say, 6, then Godzilla and Kong. Under 6, I might give it just a little bit, because it could be scary, but at least for a young audience, but still. Either way. The animation also is solid. It lends itself well to the animation, or sorry, the art style of the original cartoons, the original comics. So I thought the animation was good as well. I will say one of the another issue that kind of, not even issue, just thing I noticed, is that they were trying very hard to make you be like, remember, this is Garfield, kids? He hates Mondays? What are you saying? He hates Mondays. That's great. That doesn't mean anything here. There's like a bit where we see what a Monday for him is like, and that's funny. But then it's like, oh yeah, he hates Mondays. He likes lasagna. This, that. Like the Garfieldism, like they keep trying to throw a Garfieldism out every once in a while. But it's like you're not in a Garfield story. You're just in a animated story with Garfield. So I don't know. Long and short of it, certainly not a bad film. Like I said, pleasantly benign. If you got kids, like young kids, they like Garfield, they want some movement, I would definitely go check this out. I got lucky. I was the only one into my theater for a 8:15 show on a Tuesday. We'll see how well this does at the box office. It's actually not doing bad right now, so we'll have to see how well this does at the box office. But ultimately, that's my thoughts. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks for the next one. Later.